Once upon a time, in a kingdom surrounded by towering mountains and sparkling rivers, there lived a princess named Snow White. She was known throughout the land for her beauty, skin as white as snow, lips as red as roses, and hair as black as midnight. But more than her beauty, it was her kind heart and gentle nature that made her beloved by everyone. Snow White's father, the king, had passed away when she was very young, leaving the throne to her stepmother, the queen. The queen was a woman obsessed with beauty and power. Every morning she would stand before her magic mirror and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" For years the mirror always replied, "You, my queen, are the fairest of them all." But as Snow White grew, her beauty and kindness began to outshine even the queen's. One day, the mirror replied differently. "Queen, you are fair, it is true, but Snow White is even fairer than you." The queen's eyes narrowed, her jealousy flared like wildfire. She could not stand the thought that anyone, especially Snow White, could surpass her. The queen's first plot. Consumed by envy, the queen called a huntsman to her throne. "Take Snow White into the forest and kill her. Bring me her heart as proof that she is no longer a threat." The huntsman, though loyal to the queen, was a kind man with a conscience. He followed the queen into the forest and found Snow White picking flowers near a sparkling stream. Her innocence and gentle smile melted his heart. "I cannot harm you, princess. Run far into the forest and never return." Snow White thanked him and fled, her heart pounding but filled with hope. She wandered through thick forests, unsure where to go, until she stumbled upon a quaint little cottage. The Cottage and the Seven Dwarfs. The cottage was small but cozy, with smoke curling from the chimney and flowers blooming around the windows. Curious, Snow White peeked inside and found 7 dwarfs cleaning, cooking, and talking to each other. Each dwarf had a unique personality. Doc, the wise leader who always tried to organize everyone; Grumpy, the grouch with a heart of gold; Happy, the cheerful optimist; Sleepy, forever yawning; Bashful, shy but kind; Sneezy, always sneezing at the slightest thing; Dopey, the playful and mute dwarf. The dwarves were surprised to see her, but welcomed her with warmth. Snow White offered to help them clean and cook in exchange for shelter. Soon the cottage was filled with laughter, music, and the aroma of delicious meals. Snow White felt safe and happy, and the dwarves felt a joy they hadn't known before. The queen's tricks. But the queen soon discovered through her magic mirror that Snow White was alive. Furious, she decided to take matters into her own hands. Disguising herself in clever ways, she set out to trick the young princess. First, she appeared as a traveling peddler, offering Snow White fine lace to try on. Snow White was cautious and refused. Next, the queen disguised herself as an old woman with a poisoned comb, but Snow White noticed the danger in time. Finally, the queen created a shiny red apple, enchanted with a deadly spell. When the queen offered the apple, Snow White, unaware of the danger, took a bite. Immediately, she fell into a deep, magical sleep, as if every breath had been paused. The dwarves' grief. The 7 dwarfs returned home to find Snow White lying motionless, a faint smile still on her lips. Their hearts broke. Though they wanted to bury her, they could not bear to part with her. Instead, they placed her in a glass coffin so that all who passed by could see the beautiful princess. Day after day, the dwarves tended to her, hoping that some miracle would awaken her. They mourned, but their love for her never wavered. The prince's arrival. News of Snow White's beauty and tragic fate spread across the kingdom. One day, a young prince who had heard tales of the kind and beautiful princess came to the forest. As he approached the glass coffin, he was captivated. Snow White's face, peaceful and gentle, reflected a beauty that no words could describe. Moved by love at first sight, the prince gently kissed her. Magic sparkled in the air as the spell lifted, and Snow White's eyes fluttered open. Life and color returned to her cheeks. The dwarves cheered, overjoyed, and the prince took her hand, promising to protect and care for her always. Justice and celebration. The queen, upon learning of Snow White's survival, was furious beyond measure. In some versions of the story, she faced a punishment fitting her vanity and cruelty. Peace returned to the kingdom, and Snow White and the prince were married in a grand celebration attended by everyone, including the dwarves, who were honored guests. Snow White's kindness, bravery, and wisdom were celebrated throughout the land. The kingdom learned that jealousy and cruelty would never triumph over goodness and love, and that even in the darkest times, hope can shine like the first light of dawn. And so Snow White lived happily with her prince, the dwarves remained her lifelong friends, and the kingdom thrived under peace and kindness. Whenever people remembered her story, they were reminded that beauty is not just in appearance, but in the heart. And from that day on, Snow White's laughter filled the castle, the forest, and the hearts of everyone who knew her story. A story that would be told for generations, reminding the world that beauty is not just in appearance, but in the heart.